In my laboratory, we study how it is that the brain allows us to move our body, in particular our hands, and to interact with the world around us. For example, to reach for something or to pick something up. This is a good example of a general thing that the brain is good at, which is to take in lots of information, in this case sensory information, like for example, if we're going to pick something up, where it looks to be or where our hand is, we can feel where our hands are. To take in all that sensory information and to use it in a very kind of effortless way to make computation happen. In this case, the computation, the thing that the brain's computing, is how to move the arm. So what we do in my laboratory is we can record neural activity, the patterns of electrical activity, across many different brain areas, say 3 or 4 different brain areas. And the idea is that by recording from so many neurons at the same time, we hope that we can reconstruct the patterns of activity, if you will, the dynamics of activity, how neurons affect each other and how that changes across time, and how those patterns give rise to movement. One of the most exciting things that we're doing in my lab these days is trying to develop the ability to write information into the brain. And what I mean by that is to be able to control the neural activity, the patterns of neural activity in a specific brain area, in order to do things like convey information to the brain or to drive repair. One application of being able to write information back would be actually to allow somebody to feel the things that they're interacting with, to have that sense of touch restored when they're using a robotic arm. So we would actually be able to monitor what the robot's touching and then provide that information directly back to the brain in order for the subject to feel like they're interacting with the real world. Another, perhaps longer-term application of the ability to write information in, and the one that I think I'm perhaps most excited about, is the ability to drive changes in the brain that will be reparative. After stroke, for example, some patients recover well on their own. That's the brain using its own plasticity to reorganize and recover function. But some patients don't recover well. And one of the reasons why that might be is because the brain, in some sense, is stuck in a bad state. It can't figure out the right way to reorganize itself. We think that if we could go into the brain and cause the right patterns of activity, that we could jumpstart, if you will, that process of reorganization, that process of relearning, in a way that would be very difficult to do, say, with behavioral therapy alone, and we certainly don't know how to do with drugs.